And good morning, Facebook. Good morning, everyone joining me on Facebook. Welcome to day 559 with me, Tiffany Fosmire-Mathias. We are here today to talk about code switching. So, hello, everybody. What's up? How are you doing? Oh, my FBI agent is listening. Welcome into the space, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello. Hello, Adam. Good morning. Welcome, Stacy.
Good morning, Tiffany. Tiffany, how you doing this morning?
I'm well, Adam. How are you? Hello, hello.
Every day is a good day.
Hey. Hey, Ms. Z, how are you? Welcome. Hi, how are you? What's up, Veronica? How are you? Welcome. Welcome. And I see Felicia Smith in the house. What's up, girl? How are you? Come on in, everybody. Yes, you too, Facebook. I see you over there. Well, I don't really see you, but I know you're there. So welcome in, welcome in. We're going to be talking code switching. So as we, get ready to go into this topic, let me know if you know what I'm talking about when I say code switching. We're going to be doing a deep dive. Hi, good afternoon. Who is that? Whose voice just came into the space?
Sorry. Good morning. That was me. I'm Felicia.
Oh, hi, Felicia. I can't see faces right now because of the screen share, but as soon as everything comes down, hopefully I'll be able to see your face. But thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning.
Yes, it's really interesting. I had signed up, but then I was receiving the text messages and I thought they were spam. For a reminder. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think a mama so-and-so would be spamming me.
No. Welcome in. Thank you for signing up. We greatly appreciate you. Welcome into the space.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Tracy Ann. How are you? And Miss Sweetness, I see your name popping into this space. Thank you. Good morning.
Grand Rising.
Everyone. Grand Rising. So it's a little bit dreary here in Brooklyn, New York. It's going to be a rainy day, but you know what they say? April showers bring May flowers, and spring is popping out here. Allergy season is in full bloom. So I hope everybody's taking care. Let's get started.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together.
All right, Tiff.
All right. Hello and good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up Everybody, day 559. If you're in the space and you know somebody who's supposed to be here, but they're normally not here, go ahead and shoot them a message. Tell them to pop on into the space or join us on Facebook. Either one is greatly appreciated. Let's get started. So my name is Tiffany Fosmire-Mathias. I am an author, an entrepreneur, a community leader. Yes, and if you were here yesterday was the launch and the availability of my second book, my second anthology, with the group that I write with, the Diamond Writers. So the book Beneath the Crown is available. So that's why I was wearing my little crown tiara yesterday. I was feeling myself, and I'm still high on that energy and shamelessly plugging in my impromptu sacred space behind me. So today we're going to be talking about code switching, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the first time that I realized or I was taught code switching. When I was 15 years old, my mom sent me to go live with my aunt and uncle upstate New York, about 20 minutes outside of Syracuse, this little town called Elbridge. Now I'm a New York City girl, Brooklyn born and bred. And I got up there and this was a total culture shock. So I went from being in a predominantly Black and Hispanic community to what they used to call lily white. Everybody was white. And the white families that weren't completely lily white, they had children who were adopted. There were day laborers who worked on farms who might have been of Hispanic descent. And there was myself and three other children who were of African American descent. We were all biracial, but that was it. There were four of us in the whole school system, four Black kids. And I went up there talking how I talk, behaving how I behave, dressing how I dressed, because that's who I was. You know, I was the Fresh Princess of Elbridge, you know, that same, if you've ever watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and you remember when Will came in and the culture shock he got coming from West Philly into Bel-Air, and, you know, that whole Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv telling him, you know, you can't show up at the black tie event with the cummerbund around your chest and your hat to the side. Well, that's who I was. All right. And my aunt and my uncle told me, as cute as my around the way girl vibe was, it just wasn't going to work up here because of the way that I talk, the way that I carried myself. People were going to interpret it as me lacking intelligence. Some may even think that it was ignorant. We used to practice at the dinner table me saying one specific word. It was the word ask. Where I came from, we said ask. Go ask your mother. Go ask. And everybody knew what it was that I was talking about. But if I said, go ask somebody over the, it was like, with a hatchet? You mean with an axe? So yes. Little did I know what was being planted into me was the seed of code switching, being able to change up my body language, the way that I speak, my vernacular, based on my environment. So Shawnee, if we could share the definition slide of code switching, and I'm going to ask, is there someone in the space who is willing to share their voice and read through the definitions of code switching? If not, we can wait. I know some people gotta clear their throats. Come on. Thank you, Felicia. Yes, please share.
Okay, code switching, noun linguistics. The practice of alternating between two or more languages or varieties of language in conversation involves the adjustment of one's style of speech, appearance, behavior, and expression in ways that will optimize the comfort of others in exchange for fair treatment, quality of service, and employment opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we can take that down. As a matter of fact, no, Shawnee, let's leave it up for a few more minutes in case anybody wanted to note that and write it down. So yes, at 15 years old, this is what I was being taught. I was being taught the second definition. I was being taught that I, as a person, would need to, in order to be successful in society and be accepted, I would have to learn to adjust myself for other people's comfort in order to optimize my abilities and my success in the world. All right, and we can take that down. So coming up, I have a couple of questions that we're going to ask. And what I want you to start to think about, because we're going to watch a video very soon, is, do you code switch? Where do you code switch and why? All right. So we're going to, oh my, okay, Catherine, OMG, my children check me with that word too. Oh, so the word ask. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me know that. And you had the issue in reverse, Jacqueline. What do you mean by that, Jacqueline? Which was reverse?
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
What that meant was that my mother was very particular about language when we were growing up. She wanted us to speak the King's English. So she taught us from an old English Bible, and she was born, she was raised in the Caribbean. So they spoke differently than the people in the neighborhoods that we were living in the Bronx. And so when I would go outside, I'd get into it, with the way I spoke. My daughter has the same issue too. You speak proper, you're not this, you're that, all of this nonsense. And I would have I would switch to one way when I was with my friends. And then when I was home, I had to speak the way I was taught. And when I went to school, I spoke the way my mother taught me. But even that didn't help, because when I went to college in Buffalo, they have a different dialect, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, or a different vernacular, I'm not sure. And words like, say in New York, for example, they wanted me to say New York, like the Boston way. And my professors in school, because I was teaching, used to get on me about my Bronx accent that I had developed. So it was really crazy. I'm constantly code switching. I don't do it as much anymore, because it's the way I speak is the way I speak. And I don't make apologies for that. But it was difficult, to say the least. And I'm complete.
I believe that Tiffany bounced out of the session. So let us continue until she comes back into the space. So Jacqueline, thank you for your share. Tiffany, when she was speaking about the word ask, it reminded me, and I talked about it before in this space, like one other time in the 2 years, that when I was in college at Long Island University, they used to have a campus upstate. And I was one of the very few Black students that was at the school, enrolled in the school. And I loved English, like that was my life. And my English professor at the college, I don't remember what the lead in for the conversation was, but he wrote the word ASK on the board and then called on me to pronounce it. And then when I said ask, was annoyed because I didn't make his point. But I knew how to code switch. If we were home, or if I was chilling with my friends, I would have said ax. But in that space, I'm like, mother effer, please. Like, you think I'm stupid? We're in English class. I know what to say, but just that microaggression too, because language in this society, the dominant culture dictates what's proper. And then we fall in line, and then we do what we do and judge each other based on being proper, not being proper. So even how we negotiate those spaces is connected to white supremacy. And I'm complete. Welcome back, Tiff.
Thank you. Thank you. So sorry for that. And I believe I'm able to fill in the pieces of what it is that I missed. So yes, Jacqueline was sharing that her mother had instilled in her and her siblings the proper King's English way of speaking. However, when they were in the neighborhood amongst their friends, that wasn't acceptable. And now that goes into the topic of what the "You Talk White" is. When I returned from that town upstate back to Brooklyn, New York, a year later, that was the first thing my friends told me was, "You talk white." And I didn't know how to take that. What does talking white sound like? And it sounded like adding the G's on the end of your words, properly enunciating all of the syllables when you spoke, dropping the nah I mean at the end when you're speaking. Nah I mean. You've removed those words from excuse me, you remove those words from your vocabulary and your language. And that's when I realized, oh, I need to be able to volley back and forth between these two worlds, because when I'm at home with my friends and my family, in order to make them comfortable and make me sound like I belong, I need to ask questions. But when I'm in a meeting, I'm applying for a job, I need to ask this prospective employer the proper questions and say it in a manner where I sound like I belong. All right, so thank you everybody for being patient with me. There's something wonky happening with my internet. So we can go into the video now, Shawnee. Thank you, everyone.
Ready. One sec. Before we go, Tiff, read
Yes.
a few of the comments and then we'll make the
Sure.
transition.
Okay, so I have here coming in, Kaisha from Facebook said, yes, I code switch. There is a distinction in the way I speak to people in my neighborhood versus when I'm home in New York. People still don't believe I'm from New York when home because I lost my accent and speak proper. Yes, speaking proper. And Jem shared that my mom taught English and Latin. I was called an English duck. So yes, we're gonna get into that one also. Code switching when it comes down to being able to speak multiple languages and what that looks like.
We all code switch, but some examples are more effective than others.
Okay, let's be real honest. Obama would not be president if he didn't know how to effectively code switch.
Obama.
He's really adept at reading his audience.
Wagwan, Jamaica.
And then putting forth an American English that they can relate to.
So what is code switching?
Okay, so code switching, let's keep it really simple. Code, so we can think language, and switching, so going back and forth between one language and another, or one dialect and another.
Meet Professor Renee Blake.
I am an associate professor in the Department of Linguistics at New York University. I'm also in the Department of Social and Cultural Analysis and the Director of Africana Studies.
Say that 3 times fast.
Oh, you're funny. Code switching is the norm for all of us. So if you just think about whether it's a formal situation versus an informal situation, we're going to be code switching. Usually people think of it in terms of language. So here I am speaking, and I'm speaking not only with words, but I'm also speaking with my face, I'm speaking with my hands.
But code switching often has higher stakes for Black people.
I think it's clear why Black people specifically feel the need to code switch.
This is Taryn Finley. She's the editor of HuffPost Black Voices.
Our Blackness isn't accepted in a lot of spaces that are critical for our success and our survival. A lot of times we have to dilute and we have to put on a mask.
It's a bigger leap for someone who speaks African American English versus someone who speaks a language that is closer to mainstream English, the language of those in power.
But when a Black person can't effectively code switch, the result can be catastrophic. The 2013 George Zimmerman trial was a painful reminder of that fact. He was charged with second-degree murder in the shooting of Trayvon Martin. Rachel Gentel was the prosecution's star witness and a close friend of Martin's.
And when she testified, she was not code switching.
I asked him how the man looked like. He looked like a creepy ass cracker.
She took the stand, and it became clear that the public wasn't judging the facts of her story. They were judging her language.
I don't think she came across as brutally honest. I think she comes across as brutally ignorant. Every time she opens her mouth, her credibility gets chipped away and chipped away.
Ultimately, Zimmerman walked free. But the ability to code switch isn't always enough to avoid disaster. Case in point, Sandra Bland. Bland was stopped for failing to signal a lane change.
Oh, you seem very irritated.
I am. I really am.
She's speaking a form of standard or mainstream English.
Step out of the car.
But yet, the conversation escalates and goes badly very quickly.
Drag me out of my own car.
Get out of the car!
And then you
I will light you up. Get out!
Wow.
Now!
Wow.
Get out of the car!
For a failure to signal. You're doing all of this for
Get over there.
And so here what I think is happening, and what we seem to understand, is that there's something about the Black expression that is different or can be misconstrued.
Despite her ability to code switch, Bland was arrested. She was later found dead in her jail cell.
Our Blackness inherently says trouble in a lot of white spaces and a lot of public spaces. That's why so many people feel threatened and want to call the cops when they see a Black person doing something as benign as waiting for a business meeting to start in Starbucks.
So it sounds like racism is the root cause of all of this.
We haven't, as a country, confronted racism and really got into the roots of why we code switch, why we feel like we have to straighten our hair in order to get a job, even if we don't want to.
That concerns me, because I think the Black body is like every other body, a beautiful body, and should be loved and respected, and not feel anxiety as you walk through the world on a daily basis. I know I feel that anxiety because I do want to be accepted by the world in which I live.
Code switching can help Black people navigate white spaces. But at the end of the day, it's not enough to overcome racism.
Code switching and respectability politics don't protect us all the time. We're still Black.
That's the end of the video. We can take it down. All right. So I'm reading the chat and I see Jacqueline says, I'm over here trying to mimic the me and saying the words without the G. Yes. When it's something that you practice so much, when you intentionally try to say the words, they begin to fumble and they don't necessarily come out right. And then additionally, I just want to ask some feedback on the video. What did you think about what the professor and the editor of HuffPost had to say about code switching and the importance of it, and whether or not it really makes us safe in these spaces that we're in, or are we fooling ourselves? Are we fooling ourselves in thinking that if we speak properly, if we carry ourselves with dignity and poise, that we are being accepted into a white society that we live in here in the United States? And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to read Teresa's comment from Facebook. Teresa P says, the kids in the neighborhood thought I was from down south, not from New York City, but born and bred in East Harlem. I love to read, write, and phonics. I love to read and write in phonics in 12 years of, I learned to read, write, and phonics in 12 years of Catholic school education. But yeah, I switch all day with my family, my friends. I throw in slang and drop my G's and all that. That's right, dat with a D, not a TH. At work, I'm one of the few Blacks, so I am very deliberate in my speech, and I add my G's and all of that. Thank you. So we even do it when we talk and we type and we send text messages and emails. the way we send a text message to one of our friends is not going to be the same way we express ourselves when we send a work communication via email, because something can get lost in the translation of the dialect there. So does anybody have anything that they wanted to say or add about the video before we move into the next part? Teresa, you came off mute.
Hi, good morning. I didn't get a chance to see the video, but I love to hear country. I love to hear people with a southern accent. It just reminds me of home to me. It's like the rest of my day. But I you hear that a lot about people saying you're talking white, or whatever. And I when they say, I be like, what is that? What does talking white mean? Just because I want to enunciate, my words. And my thing I do, I speak really fast sometimes, so I have to slow down. And sometimes I get my words mixed up. So, I made an effort, to work on, like taking the time, like taking my time and not, getting my words up, but it also comes from me feeling insecure, because I didn't always, I would get mixed up a lot when I'm trying to express myself, but it has to do with, from my past experience. But I just love that. I love that we're bringing these points up, because some people still have insecurities about it from past things, of past relationship. And so it's a place of healing that, could take place in our life. And so appreciate you, Tiffany. And I'm complete.
Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much for your share. And yes, when you hear the dialect and the accent from something that you're familiar with, whether you're from the South and you hear a Southern twang in someone's accent, or you're from another country and you can hear it when they speak, it does bring comfort. It brings familiarity to you, and it brings ease. So I did see someone's hand up, but it went down.
Hi, it's
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah. Yes, how
Hi,
you guys
Aaliyah.
doing? I'm sorry, I'm in walking, so I'm outside. But really quickly, thank you for talking about this code switching. Now, 20 years ago, I don't think we were using that term, but I just remember going to college, and I went to a PWI, private license institution, and I remember the professor in our public speaking, voice and diction class. She said kids from the city speak too fast. But it was interesting, most of the kids from the city were Black and brown. So right there, I received the message that, I couldn't speak, the way I was brought up. I just thought, sometimes you speak educated and sometimes you spoke in slang, but it's actually like a rhythm to our voices that does make a lot of people of other races uncomfortable. So, I just learned to like dip in and out. But it's really interesting because as I'm raising children, now I grew up in Brooklyn. The kids are going to tell me the other day, Mom, you don't talk Black. And I said, what? I almost pulled the car over. What is talking Black? Are you kidding me? And we had to have a conversation, So it's just really interesting about, perceptions and code switching, and you speak too fast and it's wrong and you won't be able to get a job. It's unfortunate, and I'm complete.
Yes, thank you so much, Aaliyah, for that share. And it's true. Imagine when the kids are sitting there saying, you don't talk Black enough. Like they're about to pull your Black card because you don't speak Black enough for them, or what they feel is Black enough. Shawnee, can we put up the next slide where it shows, we talk about the different code switches? And yes, Andrea, I see your hand. We can come into the space. Yes, you can come in with your comment.
Great morning and grand rising, everyone. How are you?
Thank you. How are you? Thank you.
Great. My comment on that topic, I am born Guyanese, migrated to this country, but for me, I just want to be my authentic self. So if I'm among Guyanese, I mean, the twang will come out automatically. But I just love speaking the way I know how from back home. I mean, if you're in a professional space, you at work, there's certain code of conduct. That's how I look at it. But I just love being my authentic self, and I enjoy other people's speaking, their way of living, because it adds diversity. It's like the spice of life. We're all different. So we need to embrace all the languages. I love to hear the Southerners speak. I could sit down all day and hear people from my country in the countryside. They're speaking English, but it's a broken kind of English we call Creolese. And when I was growing up in Guyana, my mom, because I went to school in Georgetown in the city, my mom didn't want me to, speak the Creolese, but I loved it. So I spoke it every day, and I just loved it. And I just love being in that space. I mean, when I got to write, of course, you write proper English,
Right.
but I mean, when I heard this term code switching, I'm like, what is this? We're supposed to just be our authentic selves. When we're in a professional space, that's different. If you're in school, you're at work, that's one thing. But I mean, if you're navigating spaces, you should be able to just be free and be natural. That's what we are. But as I'm looking into this whole thing really deeply, I think the underlying issue here is, and the word was called earlier, racism. It seems as though that being a melanated group of people, we always got to be looking on back of our shoulders. Why? We need to just be our authentic self. That's just how I operate. I don't have to code switch for anybody. If I'm in a space and I just feel the temperature. I always say, I feel the temperature of the room and I go accordingly. I'm not code switching for anybody, because if I have to accept you with your lingo, you must be able to accept me with my lingo, and this is how we learn, and this is how we grow. I'm listening to your Southern accent. You love my Guyanese accent. I love your Russian accent. And you shouldn't have to feel fear of speaking, because I worked at one of the most diverse hospitals in New York. One of the things we do as health professionals was tell any we don't know how to speak your language. That's
Andrea, I just wanted to pause you because Tiffany has some additional stuff that she wants to share that speaks to what you're just offering up in the examples that you just gave. And then Tiff, there's another hand, so you want to have the person wait to share while you present the types?
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Andrea.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. I was going to say you're leading us into the next portion of the session. And I just want to acknowledge the time. It's 7:34. I know this is supposed to be a short session. We'll be wrapping up in about 10 minutes. So if you can give grace and stay, I would greatly appreciate it. And Veronica and Tracy, after we go over this next slide, we'll be able to come back with your voices in the space. So the types of code switching, and this speaks a little bit into what Ms. Andrea was just saying. So the first one is intersentinel switching. And this is a change in language from one language to another within different sentences. And so sometimes, and I used to be offended by this, and when I was younger, particularly when I was around people who spoke Spanish, because I appear to be Hispanic, probably Puerto Rican or Dominican, because of what my complexion is and my hair texture. People automatically think I speak Spanish. But when they find out that I don't speak Spanish, that I'm not Hispanic, what used to happen is the conversation would take place, and then right in the middle of a conversation, there'd be one or two sentences in Spanish. And I automatically felt like, oh, they didn't want me to be part of that. But what was happening was those people were doing intersentinel switching, in which they were changing their language during a conversation. Some sentences were in English, some sentences were in Spanish or in whatever vernacular they were speaking. Then there's sentinel switching, which is a change within the same sentence from one language to another. And I was sharing with Shawnee in pre-session, one of my favorite ones is, again, Spanish people who will say, "Cómo se dice?" Which is, how do you say? And then they couldn't figure out the word in their language, so then they would say it in English. So in Spanish, they said, "How do you say?" And then they would say the English word because they were trying to translate the English word into the Spanish word. And the last one is tag switching. And tag switching is the switching from either a tag phrase or word or both from one language to another. And this usually happens, and I enjoy this the most, when people from the Caribbean put the patois on their tongue, when they're excited about something, whether it's in happy excitement or they're angry, the more they're into that feeling or emotion, the more that language comes out in them. And so these are the different ways of code switching. And when you really think about code switching really did have to do with literally changing from one language to another. But is slang, broken slang, ebonics, that became whether or not, is that really a language? So I just wanted to add that as we go into our questions. We can take that slide down, Shawnee. And I'm gonna go with, I see Tracy Ann's hand is up, and then we're gonna go with Veronica. Yes, Tracy Ann.
I'm going to try to be brief because I know we don't have that much time. I just wanted to speak about the lady that was speaking. I think she said she was from Guyana. I think it speaks to when she was saying that that in order to, when you code switch, you're not being your authentic self. I think it speaks to and she was saying that when you're in a professional setting, you speak professionally. I think it speaks to, I feel like the whole point of you bringing this up, to say that what's deemed professional is speaking white, if there isn't any other way to say it. And if you go to like somewhere like in England, if we go there speaking American English, it's like considered broken English. And we don't even realize that we're just adapting to our environment. And then another point I wanted to talk about is like, just because you code switch, are you not being your authentic self? I think you're just speaking in a way that you're ensuring that whomever you're speaking to, whatever point you're trying to make is coming across. And I think that's the purpose of language. And I really appreciate this session. I really wish it was longer because it just gave me so much food for thought. And another thing I wanted to say is about language. The languages that we deem, like I know in the Caribbean, you have different dialects. And it's funny that whatever was, I want to say a brown or a yellow people's language was given the term dialects. But the main languages were, I feel like, from European descent. And it's like that all across the world. And it's just like a disrespect. The underlying factor is racism. And it's just like a disrespect to Black and brown people. And I think that it's important to meet everyone where they are. And sometimes if you're educated or you're eloquent, you look down on a Black person that cannot relay their information in how we say a professional way. And my family's from Jamaica. So, my family has 3 different ways to speak. They speak patois, then they can speak broken English. And if they were raised in America, sometimes they kill their accent and take on the full American accent. And then they have the professional white voice as well. And I think it's important that, language, we remember what the root of language is, and it's just to evoke an emotion or a thought. And I'm complete. Thank you so much for this. I hope you have a part 2.
Oh, well, you know what? You put it into the space, so there just might be. I'm pretty sure in debrief, Shawnee's going to be like, so when are you putting part 2 on the calendar? Thank you so much for that. I do remember Veronica's hand being up, and then Dr. Kennebrew also had her hand up.
Yes, good morning all. What this conversation brought back to me is I worked on Wall Street in the 80s for 10 years, and I was looking for a job. And the headhunter called me and he said to me, do you have blonde hair or brunette hair? And what color are your eyes? Because he couldn't figure out what I was, whether I was white or black. And that was his way of eliciting an answer from me. And I didn't answer, but I knew that my language, and I didn't realize that I code switched when I was at work.
Right.
Because it was automatic. Like we get into certain spaces and it becomes an automatic thing. And this really brought back, this conversation brought that back to my remembrance. And I really appreciate the conversation. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you so much. And you want to know something, as someone who works in human resources and knows the do's and don'ts of interview questions, those questions were completely inappropriate because he was attempting to use those questions to separate your application from somebody else's based on whether or not you were going to fit an image that the company was looking for. So good for you for knowing what he was trying to pull on you. Too many times somebody would have just easily answered those questions and not realized they just cost themselves a job based on discrimination. So thank you for knowing the power in your answer. All right, Dr. Kennebrew.
Yes, can y'all hear me? I'm on two
Yes,
devices. Okay, there were a couple of things. One, I wanted to, I'm really struggling with this speak white narrative. And I think what Neely said, if you don't understand white supremacy, you'll be confused about everything else. This idea that is speaking white when we're speaking proper, quote unquote proper, and we're ignoring class. Because you can, if you've ever watched Jerry Springer, right? And you hear these folks from a different class, however we're using that, and their language, it's not quote unquote proper English. So to associate white or speaking quote unquote proper, whatever that means, with white is sort of the same way we equate being poor with being black and being rich. So we need to extricate proper from white, which, I think is important. Also, when we think about going places, somebody mentioned England. If you're in England and people are speaking English, you can tell what part of the country and even the city of London that they're from based on how they speak, which is a class issue. And so, again, when you do your next session, maybe we could talk about that class issue, that, and when we talk about code switching, I think someone said it was modern. How it may be used with linguistics is modern, but Du Bois talked about code switching very early on, and being able to navigate, particularly African Americans, being able to navigate two cultures. And language is the primary conveyor of culture. And so I think these are all things that we need to explore further when we go into the next session. But some of the comments, I think, reveal a lot of other things other than just the language. And I'm complete.
Thank you, Dr. Kennebrew. And you're absolutely right. When it comes down to talking white, yes, depending on what part of the United States that you are in, you will have someone of a Caucasian descent speak more broken than myself or anyone else here in this space who is Black and brown and talks about their slang and how it is that they speak. So yes, there is definitely more to it. And across the globe, when we look at class, people from Spain do not look at the Spanish that is spoken in other countries such as Puerto Rico or the Dominican Republic or those countries. They look down on that because it is their version of broken language. So yes, there's definitely more to dive in, and it has been planted that it is time for me to return, to work on a part 2 for this session. So I thank everyone for sharing. I just want to bring into the space some voices and some of the comments from the chat. Looking here, we had Kaisha from Facebook said, one of my good friends in Colorado told me I'm too nice to be from Brooklyn. Oh, right, because Brooklyn, we go hard, right? You have to have a tough exterior when you're from Brooklyn. And so yes, when you leave Brooklyn and you take that Brooklyn bravado off, people might interpret it as being soft. Rakaya says, the subconscious self-hate is so deep and seated. Yes, it's so deeply seated. Yes. So changing the way that we speak sometimes can be something that's deep within us, especially when you do it in an effort to try and forget where you came from and being ashamed of how it was your parents and your family taught you how to speak. And Jem also shared that I find Spanish speaking people answer in English if you try to speak Spanish to them. So yes, if somebody who speaks, Jem, do you mean if somebody who is a non-Spanish speaking person attempts to speak Spanish to the Spanish speaking person, they'll answer in English. And my experience has been, it's like, let me take you off the hook. You don't have to make that effort for me. There's a lot of, excuse me, getting over a cold. There's a lot of juicy dialogue here. And it says that I should come back for a second round of this. I want to begin to wrap up because I did ask for 10 minutes of grace and we are approaching that. I had some questions that I was going to ask, but you all answered them for me without even knowing this is where I was taking you. So do we code switch? Most of us do. Most of us code switch, and the reasons that we code switch are related to acceptance. But then we have other people who say, no, I don't code switch. If I have to accept you and how it is you speak and carry yourself, you're going to accept me and how it is that I speak and I carry myself. And we have to recognize that. And the different places we code switch. We shared that we code switch going back and forth. Sometimes we switch from work to home, and even amongst our family and friends, we code switch. And I'm going to just end this session with saying that when I first joined Shawnee's Be the Tree Rites of Passage program, and I started coming to Woo, I was code switching because there is a language and a vernacular that we speak in these spaces that I do not always speak when I'm not here in these spaces. It took me a while to get used to saying grand rising instead of good morning. There is actually a difference. It is meant to have a higher vibration, but yes, we code switch even in this space here. And so if there is anyone else who wanted to bring in a final thought or comment, besides I need to come back for part 2, I definitely want to hear this and then we can wrap up. Is there anyone who had a final thought? Yes, Adam, thank you. Come on in.
Good morning, everyone. About this code switching thing, to me, has to be it's the most ignorant thing that anyone could, submit to, because I believe it takes away your identity of who you truly are as a person. And it also, lowers your self-esteem, and it also, you know, lowers your value of how you show up in the world. So when you got to code switch or try to fit in the group, just, you know, get along, that means you really have no friends. And it goes back to what John Henry Clark used to say: you really have no friends. So that's what this code switching thing reminds me of, and I'm complete.
All right, Adam, thank you for coming in.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm sorry. Could I just say something real quick? I'm gonna be real quick. I apologize for jumping in, but Adam just said something. Let me just say that sometimes I code switch because there's certain things, there's certain language, there's certain expressions that are only reserved for family. And I choose not to share those with the other world. And when I see someone on TV, a celebrity or someone trying to be an influencer who's of a different ethnic group, saying things that were only said in family, but using them to make money or to, I don't know, exploit, I find that to be problematic because I'm thinking, how did they even know that? That's an expression that's only used within the community. And I think that there's certain things, when I'm in your space, I will use the tools for your space, but when I'm in my own space, and it doesn't have anything to do with not having friends or anything like that. So I'm taken aback about that, but it has to do with a choice. And so sometimes we're choosing from a position of power. And then quite frankly, there are times when we choose from a position of inferiority, but we can't assume that we're just assuming from a position of inferiority or self-hate. And I'm complete.
Thank you, Dr. Kennebrew, for that, and Adam. And see, here's what I want to say about the Woo community. We are closing this out with people who are on all spectrums and on all levels of this conversation. And the beautiful thing about it is that this is a safe space to be able to express those opposite opinions and be respected for having those thoughts and feelings, which is why we are all here in this community where we choose to learn, elevate, and ascend. Being able to have these deep conversations and not have yelling and screaming and opposition and negativity brought into the space just because two participants don't agree is a beautiful thing about being here in Woo. And whether you choose to code switch or not, that is your personal belief, that is your personal choice, it is your personal authenticity. And I encourage everybody to just be that, be your authentic self. And if that means you switch, you switch. And if you don't, you don't. And at the end of the day, it is all okay. And I'm complete. So we're gonna go into the closing slides. Shawnee, you wanted me to be able to share those, or
Yes, you'll have the ability. Yeah, please do if you could, sis.
Okay, got it. All right. So we're gonna close out here. We're gonna just get to the end. I should have prepped these in the background. I apologize.
It's all good, Tiff. Let me know if you need
Yes,
me to come back in.
Mhm.
And so family, while Tiffany boosts up the slides, just want to acknowledge all of you for the level of participation. And we look forward to, yes, Tiffany, yes, part 2, a beautiful thing.
Yes.
You know, and just speaking about analysis, you know, I do a lot of anti-racist work, you know, and while I love analysis, you know, I'm also very conscious of folks like my great-great-grandmother that didn't have an ounce of it, but knew how to play the game and didn't call it code switching, but knew to do it intuitively, to save her life, to navigate as a Black woman in the world, to move around in New York where folks often thought that there was no nothing happening that was discriminatory or negative for Black folks because we was in the North, and I'm saying this with intention, we was in the North. So I love that street analysis more than anything. I don't care how scholarly I am, how much statistical data I take in, or analysis or critical race theory. I know, I just know that the best teachers that I've ever had were my Black grandmamas and my granddad and my uncles and the young people that I hung out with in the streets. So I love how I'm able to code switch in and out of that in academic spaces, and then also spaces where I get to train and develop professionals. And I'm doing air quotes because some of the most unprofessional people I've been around have 10 degrees. So I just wanted to put that out there. And you can use the best language and be an asshole.
Yeah, Shawnee, say that.
I want to say drop the mic on that.
And I love that you had an echo saying it. All right, Tiffany, you have the slide up. Thank you, family.
Yes, thank you, everybody. So as I said at the top of the session, I am a now twice published author contributing to the anthology Beneath the Crown, Her Story, Her Power, Her Voice. So the first two participants who email me at tmathias.pcyd@gmail.com will receive an autographed copy along with a limited time free gift. So yes, please take a screenshot of this. My contact information will be dropped in the chat. You can copy and paste it. But yes, this new story is about, and I love the artwork on this book here. You can see the rage, the pain, and just the energy of what it's like to be a queen and carry everything underneath that crown. So please email me and we will get those books out to you this week. This is my contact information. I can be reached via telephone. You can find me on Facebook, Phoenix Center for Youth Development. I'm on Instagram at OneTruePhoenix, and here are my email address again, tmathias.pcyd@gmail.com, and the Diamond Writers, we're at www.diamondwriters.com. We have a book tour coming out. We're coming to a city near you. So please go on to the website, find out when we're going to be in your area, and join us for one of our wonderful meetings. Love offerings and donations, money, my own natural energy yield. It is wonderful to give from the heart. And now Woo has finally set it up where you can make your monthly love donations automatically. So we have a $25 level, a $50 level, $75 and $100. You can use the links to select your love offering level. And then every month, it will be deducted. You do not have to think about it. You do not have to remember which code to put in when you're sending your love offering. It's a great new tool that we have. Coming up tomorrow, we have Truth Tea Time, Emotional Dependency with Miss Mika Joseph. That's going to be April 7th at 7 a.m. I hope to see you all there. Once again, welcome to the Woo Nation, all new members. Welcome to a community where we choose to learn, elevate, and ascend. If this is your first session, please drop it in the chat. Let us know that you're here so that we can recognize your presence, and we hope to see you back tomorrow. This is the Wake Up Everybody virtual schedule. We're live on Zoom and Facebook 5 days a week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 a.m. to 7:30. If you'd like a notification when it's time to hop onto one of these platforms, please text the word Woo Nation in cap locks to 74121. Make sure you shop our swag shop at bit.ly/Woo Swag. Get your merch, rep your community, let everybody know what it's all about. And thank you. Here's how you stay in touch with us. Register weekly at bit.ly/Wake Up Movement. Join us on Facebook in our private community, bit.ly/Woo community, or on our public page, which is bit.ly/Woo Nation. Find us on Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual, on YouTube at bit.ly/Woo on YouTube. And as always, you can email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I greatly appreciated this conversation, and we will be back for part 2. I love you all. Come and give me my love.
I love you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiff.
Yes.
Thank
Great
you.
conversation to have.
Make sure,
You was lit. Topic, great conversation.
So
Awesome.
much.
Coming to see you.
Nowhere near it. Love
you.
Great work.
Love you too.
We love you, girl.
Thank
I
you.
love you all
Your
too.
work.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Bye. Have a great day.
Shining.
Amazing. Amazing,
Thank you.
amazing, amazing.
Yes.